All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Welcome to our Inner Circle Live pre-New York session. I'm your host, Ryan Carthage. We'll be joined shortly by my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen. Hope everybody's doing well today on this beautiful Wednesday. As always, let's turn off all distractions, grab the pen and paper, take lots of notes, and let's make sure that we participate and engage. And as always, I want to start our day out by taking massive action. That action stands for accepting all possible losses before entering a trade, preparing you for any outcome, setting yourself, body, mind, and spirit, ensuring a balanced approach to trading, trusting your education, strategy, trade skills, and intuition. Imagine your trade success materializing, obeying your trading strategy, avoiding decisions based on greed or fear, and never looking back or stopping once your trade has commenced. All right. So let's get down to business. We'll take a look at fundamentals, and then we'll dive into the charts. Take a look at some of the stocks that have earnings reportings, and we'll look at some currencies as well in preparation for the rate statements today. All right. So let's head over to trading economics. All right. Eurozone economy posted surprising growth of 0.1% in Q2. Um, the Eurozone economy expanded just 0.1% quarter on quarter Q2. A sharp slowdown from 0.6% growth recorded in the previous quarter, according to preliminary estimates. Despite beating market expectations of flat growth, it marked the weakest pace of expansion since 2023. The slowdown reflects growing caution among businesses and households as they weigh easing inflation, lower borrowing costs against rising trade uncertainty, particularly with the U.S. tariffs. Um, Among the bloc's major economies, Spain and France outperformed with growth of 0.7% and 0.3% respectively. The Netherlands posted a modest growth of 0.1%, with Germany and Italy slipping into contraction, shrinking by 0.1%. All right, so things to watch in the Eurozone, right? We talked about where they stand from a rate statement perspective in the Bank of England. I'm sorry, not the Bank of England, but the uh, ECB, European Central Bank. And so we'll continue to monitor how things go, but they're in an interesting situation, right? With a slowing economy, um, and them cutting rates, kind of prepared for this, right? But it's an interesting situation to have there. So we'll continue to monitor that and where they are. Okay. Um, European stocks rebound on Wednesday, recovering from early losses. Stocks 50 rose 0.2%, Stock 600 up 0.1% as investors digest a fresh wave of corporate earnings and key data. Eurozone economy unexpectedly grew by 0.1%, led by expansion in France, Spain. Right, we talked about that. On the corporate front, L'Oreal rebounded more than 4% after the company posted a rise in sales led by US and China. UBS also up 1.8% as the lender reported robust Q2, right? Here jumped more than 4% despite a reporting revenue decline. BASF gained 1.3%. On the other hand, Hermes fell more than 3.5% as the results disappointed investors. HSBC tumbled 2.9% despite reporting a revenue growth and announced a $3 billion buyback of shares. Adidas Adidas sank nearly 7%, after posting weaker than expected revenue growth, are warning that tariffs would raise prices in the US, right? Tariffs are a tax on the consumer, right? So that's what they are. From a stock perspective, um, Federal Reserve, right? Rate statement today at 2 o'clock is expected to hold rates um, at 4.25 to 4.5, target range for the fifth consecutive meeting, maintaining a wait and see approach amid growing concerns that the ongoing trade war could reverse progress toward the 2% inflation target. The annual inflation rate accelerated for the second straight month to 2.7% in June, the highest since February, up from 2.4 in May. Core inflation also edged higher, reaching 2.9% from a 4-year low of 2.8 in the previous month. Meanwhile, the labor market continues to reflect the slowdown. All right, you continue to see layoffs happening. They're not being overly announced, but they're happening, right? But overall, conditions remain robust. Investors are still pricing in 25 basis point cut in September, with expectations of up to 100 basis points of easing over the next 12 months. At the same time, President Trump has intensified pressure on the Fed to cut rates to 1%. Interesting. His repeated public criticism of the central bank threats to dismiss Chair Powell have raised concerns about the erosion of Fed independence. Right? And we knew that was coming, and President continues to get creative on how he threatens Jerome Powell and his integrity. So we'll continue to watch that scenario as well. Rate statement at 2 o'clock today. Um, Press conference at 2:30. Okay. Um, Also, they're expected to, as far as this press conference goes, it's expected that he's going to try to stay away from forward guidance and any clarity on forward guidance. Um, so that could leave the market in an unknown space, right? Leave the market in an unknown space, and we could see some uncertainty and consolidation. So we'll watch and see there and see how things continue to transpire. All right. Over to the calendar. Actually, before that, I want to take a look at oils on the move. Crude futures hovered above 69 a barrel on Wednesday, holding a 5-week high supported by supply concerns after President Trump pressured Russia with a shortened time frame at the end of to end the conflict. Trump gave Moscow a 10-day deadline for sanctions. Oh wow, including imposition of 100% secondary tariff on the countries continue to trade with Russia. Interesting. Um, Such pressure could significantly disrupt oil market as major U.S. trade partners, key buyers of Russian oil, uh, may this may scale back. The key buyers may scale back or halt purchases amid rising compliance risks. Um, it did, Joy. Adding the upward pressure, the U.S. EU trade deal, despite introducing a 15% tariff on most EU goods, uh, averted a broad trade war that could have impacted the global trade. Weakened fuel demand. On the downside, prices face some pressure after API revealed a surprise $1.5 million build in the U.S. inventories, defying expectations of a 2.5 million barrel decline. These numbers are always interesting to me because they're so drastic. They're so drastic. So But that's the back and forth on oil. We'll take a look at the charts, net and Gulf and Canada Joe's talking about. Um, but yeah, that's where we are with oil. Um, Natural gas. Futures rose 316 per million BTUs, rebounded from a 10-week low of $3.06 in the previous session. Its forecast for extreme August heat lifted demand expectations. Meteorologists expect hotter than normal temperatures across much of the U.S., particularly in the Southeast, Mid-South, and Midwest, driving increase in use in air conditioning and boosting power sector gas consumption. Geopolitical tensions also add support after President Trump shortened the timeline with Russia, raising the risk of further sanctions in the energy exports. Additionally, new US EU agreement includes a pledge for the EU to spend 750 billion on US energy products, including gas. All right. Still, supply remains strong, with the average output in the lower 48 reaching 107.5 BCF in July, above June's record, right? Meanwhile, Baker Hughes announced a $13.6 billion deal to acquire the Chart Industries, outbidding Flowserve and signaling continued consolidation in the oil and gas sector. That should be interesting as well. All right, so that's where we are on natural gas. Also, um, stock futures were flat on Wednesday as investors await Federal Reserve latest policy announcement. Central bank widely expected to keep rates unchanged. A market closely watching for signals of potential rate cuts in September. Attention also turned to a fresh wave of corporate earnings, with the results due from Meta, Microsoft, Ford, Etsy, Robinhood. Um, what I leave off? In extended trading, Starbucks jumped nearly 5% after reporting stronger than expected quarterly revenue, while Visa fell more than 2% despite solid results. On Tuesday, S&P slipped 0.3%, ending a six-day win streak. The Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.38%, and the Dow lost 4.6 as investors weigh mixed earnings and lingering uncertainty in U.S.-China trade talks. Okay, so that's our indices overview, right? Futures are flat. Futures are flat. All right. All right. So let's take a look at the calendar real quick. Um, mm, mm, mm. Okay, here's our PMI data here. I'm sorry, no, not PMI data. I'm sorry. Um, that's another day. Aussie CPI came in below expectation. Okay. So cooling inflation there. Um, GDP that we talked about, right? And so now we're waiting on this run of data, right? Non-farm employment change from ADP, advanced GDP, Canada rate statement, pending home sales, Canada press conference, crude oil inventories, federal funds rate, and press conference. All right. So that's what we're looking at early in the day. And then tonight we got manufacturing PMI out of China, but then Bank of Japan rate statement this evening. Okay. Um, So that's where we are. Benny, good morning, bro.
My bad, I was on mute. Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, everybody. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing well, bro. How about yourself, man?
All doing pretty good.
Good, man. What's anything top of mind for you?
Oh man, just follow along what you're saying. What you're saying, what we talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
Everything's flat. Not a lot of action going on, right? Because everybody's waiting on that Fed rate decision, right? So no need to really force anything. It is what it is. Uh, I was reading an article. Bank of America is projecting a a a jobs report. They said that they expect it to be a dud, this upcoming jobs report.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, that's going to be interesting. We got a lot of action coming up here shortly.
A
Shortly.
lot of action today, man.
Yeah, so they're expecting that to be a dud. Also, I was reading an article um, where Jim Cramer was saying that earnings misses at UPS, Whirlpool, Stanley Black and Decker. Um, they reported weak quarterly earnings, uh, and he attributed it to the impact of tariffs and the slowdown in consumer spending. So just something uh, to watch out for. It says that like the tariffs, even reduced tariffs, are starting uh, to roll things.
Mm,
The consumers not spending as much as I thought. There is an acknowledged slowdown there, right? And I say that just to remind everybody, like, while the president is trying to act in real time as fast as he can, the consequences of policy decisions, whether it be fiscal or monetary, are always lagging, and we have to keep that in mind. That's why the Fed chair is moving at the pace that he's moving, because he understands that these things are lagging. You see the impact of these decisions, you know, 3, 6 months, to a year down the road, right? And that's where the conflict between the Fed chair and the president, that's where it really lies, right? And the fact that the Fed chair understands that these things are lagging, right? So we can't be emotional and act off of impulses, right? And just hurry up, and do what the president wants them to do, which is to cut rates, which he's been wanting them to cut it for the last forever since he came in office, right? Uh, you can't do that because there's lagging effects to policy decisions, right? Coming to this year, projecting, right? The market, the economy is on pace for 4 rate cuts coming into this year, and then you get hit with a tariff bomb and a tariff war, right? So then all of a sudden it gets slashed to 2 possible rate cuts. You got people, on the outskirts that some are predicting just one, right? So just always keep that in mind that, yep, we've been talking about tariffs for a while, and it's been in the news on a regular basis, but the impact, right, is lagging, right? And so that's what Jim Cramer is saying, is that we're starting to kind of see that slowdown as a result of these tariffs, even though, right, a lot of the tariffs have been reduced. There's still tariffs nonetheless. So just keep that in mind as we continue to watch the data
and
play out.
even some of those from early on, those higher ones initially, starting to roll in, right?
Yep.
Adidas is saying that customers are going to feel price increases in the U.S. Um, the automotive industry, those initial tariffs, they don't expect those vehicles to hit the ground until fourth quarter, right? And
Yep.
so that's kind of the lagging effect that Benny's talking about. It's kind of 2 to 3 quarters before you actually see the implementation of those on those products, depending on the industry. So I agree with that, bro.
Yeah. And it's just this, so you had to kind of see through all of the marketing and the bluster, like with some of these deals, like, oh, we a record deal with Japan. is it really a done deal with Japan? Same thing with the EU. You know, some of the things that we're talking about, they're not even sure if they can even come through. You know,
Mhm.
with the EU deal. You know, so there's a lot of marketing, there's a lot of bluster, you know, playing on everybody's emotions, right? We see the auto industry already saying like saying that certain I forget who it was saying that they already lost 2 billion, you know, because it
Oh, that
was
was Chrysler.
right, because of what's going on with the tariffs, you know. But you know, he's smart enough to know that people are so busy with their day-to-day lives, right? That some people things are so tight, you know, with how we operate that I'm just trying to get to the next day, right? So to see forward 6 months from now, 9 months from now, right? What I talk about today, 6 months from now, 9 months from now, or what I do today is out of sight, out of mind, 6 months, 9 months from now, right? And that's how he operates. And it's then all of a sudden you get hit with the bomb, you know, and then at that point it's hard for you to remember why you're getting hit with the bomb a year from now, right? So
Yeah,
just
that's
you
true.
know when you're trading, you know, just keep that in mind fundamentally, and that's why we talk about it every single day, just because there's a lot of things that we talk about, and then it's 9 months later, and it's like boom, remember we talked about this? Like, well, you're seeing the impact of that now, you know, and so I think that's very important, especially, you know, if you're swing trading, you know, if you're trading, you know, higher time frame setups longer term, you know, it's important to keep in mind decisions and policies that are created today, how they're going to impact you, you know, months from now. So just always keep that in mind.
Appreciate that, bro.
Yep.
Appreciate that big time, man. Team, any see Joyce said crazy as the stores are trying to sway people to spend by making a sale out of everything, but the sale price was the previous price. Yep. 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 Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Exactly. Any other thoughts or questions from a fundamental perspective? They got to keep that marketing game going. Nope. All right. Cool deal. The DXY, right? We're still hovering sideways here. Right, just on the 1 hour chart, we made a little bit of a move down, but just hovering at the high right here, right? So looking to see where the Fed goes with it, and the dollar will follow. So as I mentioned yesterday, we could see a double top here and price push down, right? And price push down. So we'll watch and see how things evolve as we get to this afternoon on the DXY. So not a ton to do here on the DXY right now. Okay. So that's where we are there. I do want to look at oil, right? And with those 100% tariff threats, right? You see oil pop to the upside. Okay. That stochastic has been in the buy zone. We're sitting at that support we talked about yesterday. If this level can hold, right? We'll see a push to the upside, and we're getting that push now. Now the question is, can we break this level of resistance here? Okay. Can we break this level here, 69, 66, to continue to move to the upside? So that's what I'm looking for next as an additional piece of confirmation here. Okay. So cash is still pushing to the upside. So we come down to the 4. All right. There's that push. Getting back to that 382 level on the 4, right? But do we get a pullback? See that cloud break here, right? Strong cloud break. See, previously we got a cloud break, but we didn't have full confirmation ahead, right? Here, strong cloud break. We got the Kumo twist ahead. Um, and we got a TK crossover, right? Lagging span is above price and above the cloud. Okay, so we'll see, Joy, if we ever break out of this zone. So cast there's in the sell zone. So can we see a pullback on this? All right, fresh AB boundary look at on the 1 hour time frame also, but Can we see a pullback to retest the cloud around the 786 level, right? And then see if we get that continuation in that run up. Okay. So come down to the one. Look at that fib from the downside. Boom. Right. Pullback. I'm looking for that pullback to be a deeper one. Right. Can we get back into our zone, retest the cloud, and then push to the upside? Okay, so we'll continue to watch and see the developments there. As I said, there's tons of back and forth happening. Um, it's the back and forth is crazy, but we'll watch and see how things evolve here. But we're looking for a low price to get back long. Okay, so that's what we're looking at on oil, and hopefully, right, we get that nice low price, and that'll give us that break above that $69 level and push us back into these 70s. Okay, so that's oil. Questions here?
How many times have price got to that?
Oh man. Huh.
Because it just seems like price, soon as it get to the
So
70s, it want to break back down.
yeah, that's that equilibrium, man. Right? We hovered here for quite some time. Right? We played around with it here. We're hovering here again, similar to how we did here. And then we were here. Right. So that $69 level is kind of the key zone. It's kind of the key zone. We'll always come back to retest that level. Right. Even way back here. Boom. Played around in that area there. Played around there. All right. That's that level of equilibrium for sure. Right. So we could be there for a while. We could be there for a while. We'll see. We shall see. That's it'd be an interesting bounce back and forth. Yeah. But historically we've been there always. Just we got mass hysteria, right? We get into those hundreds, which will be interesting to see if we get back there at some point. But that's oil. So we'll continue to watch the fundamentals on this and the geopolitical tensions to see what those drivers are. And this will move back and forth. Okay. So that's there. Take a look at natural gas. This head and shoulders pattern, I'm sorry, this crown pattern might play out, guys. It might play out, right? Got that push back down. We're trying to make these lower highs and lower lows. All right, we've got that level 285 coming into play there. All right, gets us to this sub fib D extension. Okay. So we'll continue to monitor this level 285 and see if we break that level to the downside. I know we got some summer heat coming up, but do we get changes in that and a pushback down at some point? So watching that area closely here. Okay, there's that fib there to the downside coming off that high on the 4. Okay, so potentially more downward pressure on natural gas. Okay, even with the pullback with the August heat coming back to retest that cloud and then continuing to fall, stochastic in the sell zone there. All right. Got a stochastic in the buy zone there on the daily. Yeah, and then down here on the 1,786 retracement, just shy of that matching extension. right? We broke this key level here at 315. We're back retesting that zone now, right? So I'm looking at price at least getting to this 285 level, but we could press deeper than that um, in the relative short term, right? And then getting us low price to get back long. A lot of the reports are saying that averages will bounce between 310 and 330. But I think we could break lower than that when we look at it technically. So we'll continue to watch on the high end, right? We're looking at that 420 area is still one that's in sights over the long term, but that could be next spring. So we'll watch and see. But that's where we are from a technical perspective. I'm looking at continuation to the downside here, getting us to the day extension, and then we'll look to see how we reset from there. Okay. Questions on natural gas. Um, where they stand on the LNG contract, Joy?
I posted in the community. It's in my journal. But that new plant, they keep talking about in Louisiana. I guess things was on a halt. But now they're talking about the contracts again, and that a couple of facilities was down, but they're up now. So I have to post it in the community.
Okay, cool. Appreciate that. Yeah, so we'll keep an eye, right? But that's where we are. And we know we got Donald Trump said the EU 750 billion in natural gas and energy resources, right? We'll see how all of that plays out, but that's what we're looking at there. Okay. Um, let's take a look at this dollar CAD. We got rate statement coming up shortly. Canadian dollar. Let's actually Canadian dollar weakened past 137 per dollar, weakest level in 2 months, as revived U.S. dollar and persistent trade uncertainty clouded Canada's economic outlook. On the external front, a string of high-profile agreements, most notably U.S.-Japan deal, uh, cutting in cutting auto tariffs 15%, and a parallel EU framework, ease fears of a drawn-out trade war, bolstering expectations for U.S. growth. Uh, and a resolutely hawkish Federal Reserve. Canada, by contrast, remains without a comparable pact, leaving investors braced for possible unilateral measures from Washington. Um, at home, a steeper than expected 1.1% decline in May. Retail sales underscored a cooling economy, spurring markets to factor in earlier than expected pivot toward rate cuts by the Bank of Canada. All right, so we'll watch that as that we'll see if they give any forward guidance from Canada on what that looks like. Right, that could cause weakness in this Canadian dollar. Right, we got this 80-20 on the daily time frame. See, we broke our trend line. Okay, pushed out of that zone. We consolidated there in that 118, 127 zone. We got a trend line break. Right now, let's see if we can get a cloud break and get this twist. Right as we head to the upside. Got a daily resistance at 140. Okay. So let's watch this and see how price moves. All right. Coming down to the 4. All right, there's your 80-20 there as well. All right. Nice break of the trend line. Also, you got a nice break of the cloud. Kumo twist, TK crossover, lagging span above price and above the cloud. All right, we got all our confirmations there. Now let's see if we get a pullback, retest that cloud and continuation to the upside there. Okay. But run along. So now we'll see if forward guidance from Bank of Canada says potential rate cuts in the future. Okay, that does. We'll see that continued weakness, and we'll see this go ahead and rise to our targets. All right, so that's on the 4. Come down to the 1. I'm going to fib off the low here and track this move to the upside. Boom. All right, so could this set us up for an 80-20 on the pullback? And retest the cloud and then give us our continuation. All right, so we'll watch, but moving to the upside. So we'll see 137, 134, great work, Joy. All right, 137, 134, somewhere in this range here. Joy got her entry. All right, on that move to the upside, great work. Drop some sevens in the chat for Joy. Looking for price to continue to rise here, right? We'll watch the Bank of Canada and see how things go, but pullbacks and continuations is what we're looking for. Okay. Questions on the dollar CAD? All right. We'll
No,
deal.
sir.
Look at this dollar yen. We're on the dollar yen, right? Trying to come out of our sweet spot and continue this move to the upside. We got that cloud break. We got a slight pullback, right? So can we continue this push to the upside with that stochastic coming out of that buy zone? Okay. So looking long here, Bank of Japan expected to continue to hold steady. And they're continue to be patient in their changes. Okay, so we'll watch the developments there sometime tonight, early in the morning. We'll get that rate statement to come. Okay, to the 4. Boom, this is where we are. We had an 8-6 push, move to the upside, pulling back a little bit now, right? So Stochastic getting down into that buy zone. Pulling back into that buy zone. So look for that retracement, retest that cloud after that break, and then continuation long. All right. Yeah. So that's where we are on the 4 down to the 1, right? Until we get that pullback. Pullback, and then continuation to the upside here. All right. Maybe initial pullback with the rate statement, press conference from the Fed, and then Bank of Japan comes in, and we swing that back to the upside. Okay, so looking long here on this dollar yen, pullbacks and continuation to the upside, and that yen weakness. Donette, talk to us. What'd you find there?
Morning.
Good morning.
If you like you have your demo there,
Mm-hmm.
you click on that, and then where you see the money sign, yeah, click on that, and then add.
Oh, so it will allow you to add your
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, you can add pretty much a lot of different things. And when you hit add, you just search for
Put
the
in information.
MT5 Darwin as the broker.
Uh-huh. And then your
And then you
name.
put in your stuff, yeah. And then it'll show at the bottom once you add it.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'll definitely get that added later. I didn't know that they would allow us to add it because they only had certain brokers that they connected to. So
We
that's
have quite a
awesome.
lot now. Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. Hopefully they get all the stuff fixed so we can utilize the full platform um, how we want to. So appreciate that, Donette.
You're welcome.
And drop some sevens for Donette. um, So that's the dollar yen. I want to take a look at actually, I think I have Meta. I don't have full market yet over on this side. Let's go back. Take a look at Meta. Ahead of their earnings. Meta's making a lot of moves. They're paying a lot of money for top AI developers from different companies, right? Paying like NBA style contracts for developers. So I'm interested to see where they fall from an earnings perspective, seeing as much as they put out in the recent weeks. Um, so I'm curious there, right? So we're running this fib off the low, and this is where we sit right now in this up retracement zone. Okay, do we get a deeper pullback here? We can take this. That's the support level there, just below that 50% level, right? Do we get a deeper pullback, be it ahead of those earnings or after those earnings, giving us a lower price here? Maybe we get to that 618 level, retest some previous resistance here. Okay. Um, but can we get back down into our sweet spot? All right, that'll be a nice ideal spot for a setup to get back long on Meta. I think overall with some of the things that they're doing and their push for the continued advancement of AI and some of their augmented reality things. I think long term there's a lot of growth to happen here. So watching that for a low price, right? Been long in them for a while, but watch for a low price for a potential entry in this area between 623 and 670. Right. I think there's upside to go there. So we'll look for more pullback to happen before I look for those entries. Right. Coming down on the 4, similar story, right? Up retracement zone. See if we break that cloud and continue this move to the downside. See if we can get back in this range. See if we can get back in this range. Okay. On our 1, it's an 80-20. I don't know if anybody caught that move, but it's already on the move to the downside. But that's right in alignment with what we're looking for, right? Right in alignment with what we're looking for. So watch those earnings reports, right? Maybe we see some weakness there, continuing to drive price down, giving us that nice opportunity as we move through the fall season that we've been talking about. All right. So we'll watch that there. So looking for low prices. Looking for low prices on Meta. Okay. Questions here? So watch around, like I said, 623, 670 to 623. Okay. That's Meta. Let's look at Microsoft. They've been dealing with a lot of hackers recently. I'm curious to see how that impacts their earnings report overall as they close out the quarter. But look where we are. 80-20 on the daily. Okay, we do have a stochastic in the sell zone. I mean in the buy zone here, so it'll be interesting to see how we navigate that. But let's watch these earnings and see if we get the catalyst for this to move back down, right? All in setup for what Benny's been talking about when it comes to um, the month of August and preparing for retracements, right? So do we see this 80-20 play out through the fall season? Okay. Coming down to the 4, 80-20 there on the 4 as well. Okay. All right, sitting right in the zone, stochastic, close to the sell zone, not quite there yet, right? So maybe get another small push to the upside, and then do we get that move down? And again, we'll watch as we get down into that zone. 457 to 431. Okay, maybe deeper than that. Maybe we close some of those gaps, but initially we'll look here until we break the 8 boundary. Okay. Um, Go back to the daily real quick here. Yep. Okay, so that's the same zone there. Yeah. So then down on a 1. What will you look at there? 80-20 on all 3 levels. All right. 80-20 on all 3 levels. So let's watch this one for that retracement. Options traders, potential opportunity for potential opportunity for short here, right? Play that move to the downside, back into the 460 range, right? So watch that closely there. If we get the fundamental catalyst to move that, okay. But yeah, hey, we got alignment on all three time frames there for potential retracement. Boom. So let's watch that one there, right? This reminds me of back in the day when I was marking up Tesla, training some options traders. And I didn't expect Tesla to fall because Tesla was on a crazy run to the upside. This was in the 800s. Alignment on all time frames, 80-20s. And said, watch this fall. They bought. and they were upset that they bought uh instead of playing the 80-20 like I was telling. So we'll watch here, and but like Benny's saying, right, fall time, we'll look for retracements in the market overall, right, and this is what it could look like. Questions on Microsoft?
No, sir.
All right, full deal. These what's Visa's what's Visa symbol?
V.
Or just V? Okay. Looked at this one a while, a few weeks back. All right. I don't have a full markup on it, but I am going to run fibs on the daily here. We're bouncing back and forth. All right, got that sharp move back to the upside. Trying to get there. Hovering right now, stochastic in the sell zone. Let's go back and do our support resistance. Don't quite have a swing higher there. Got a swing low though. It's our all-time high right now. Boom. Then let's go to the weekly. Pull these out. Support there. Back down to our daily. All right. So that's where we are. So we saw in the daily fib that we got that retracement that pushed down and then move up. So ultimately we're still long, right? As we've talked about in the past. However, right, we got to get through this retracement that we could potentially see here with I believe Visa came in short in their earnings. Um I'm gonna update one away. Let's see here. Boom, right? So that's where we are. So could we pull back, retest this 335 level, give us a double bottom, and then a push to the upside? Okay. Um, so that's what we could potentially see here. All right, so let's go down to the 4. That A got taken out. So we're running here. Same story, 618 retracement, right? Do we get a push down on a double bottom? Let's see. I don't have it on this list. Um, so let's watch. Let's watch and see. We're below the cloud, right? Trying to get a twist there. Stochastic pushing down out of that sell zone. Okay. Um, so let's watch and see here. So Visa beat their earnings, but the share still fell 2% in after hours. All right. Oh, they gave cautious guidance. They gave cautious forward guidance. Maintain full year growth forecast in the low single digits, signaling potential slower trajectory for the second half of the year. Right. It's all in line with what Benny's been talking about. So with that, could we see this pullback here give us a double bottom and then that buying opportunity? Okay. So let's watch that level there at 335 for that continuation to the upside there. Okay. And then down on the 1, there was our 80-20. Boom. Right. Can we get a double bottom there? 50% retracement. Okay. So that's Visa. Slower second half is what they're projecting. Okay. Questions here? All right. Questions on anything that we covered this morning? ASML. Yeah, we can take a look at that real quick. It's been moving beautifully. All right, just what we wanted. ASML broke this down a few weeks back also. 80-20 to the downside. Boom. I would like another push down to get into our sweet spot zone here. We'll see if we get it right. We're holding at this previous support level. It's serving as resistance. So I'm waiting patiently for another move to the downside. Would love to see price coming to that 650, 69 range. That's on the sub fib. We'll look at that in a second, but would love to see that move down. Okay. And then a move back up. But beautiful play to the upside off of the 8-6 retracement. So that's where we are on the daily. Still looking up. We're in a retracement zone. Could even see this crown pattern play out here. All right, with this nice retracement here. Okay, so we'll watch for that as well. Where we are, it'd be a shallow crown, right? We get a deeper retracement, it'd be a deep crown. So that's where we are there on the daily, down on the 4, right? Those are your fibs coming down, right? But I ran it off the low because I'm looking for a price to continue moving to the upside. Okay. Stochastic in the sell zone here, so that could give us that additional momentum to push to the downside, get us into our sweet spot. Okay. My strike price on this is 650. 650, 69 is my current price that I'm looking to buy at. So let's see how things go, right? And again, moving into this fall, we could get that catalyst all around, right? For moves down, set us up for some beautiful buying opportunities across the board. Okay. Um, while the rest of the market panics, we look for the opportunities to buy. Right. So that's what I'm looking at is for continued move to the downside, get us into this zone. But beautiful 80-20 here on the 4 as well. All right. And then down on the 1, same thing, right? Everything was in alignment with what we were looking at, and it moved as we wanted it to. So now, can we get price to meet the rules? Can we get price to meet the rules? One more push to the downside. If we run a fib off the high, boom, right? You got an 80-20 here. Okay, so we'll watch and see if that plays out. Will that move up, or if we just continue to push to the D extension and then reverse? Okay, so that's what your sub fib looks like. So that's where we are, right? Moving as we wanted it to after our breakdown, right? And so now just waiting for price to come into that buy zone. Waiting for price to come to that buy zone. Questions on ASML? You're welcome. Benny, anything before we wrap it up, bro?
No, sir. Great session, Ryan.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. All right, good people. Keep your eyes peeled. Got a lot happening today. Be patient. Be patient. Allow the market to do what it's gonna do. And let price meet your rules. All right. We're back at it tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen. You all have a phenomenal Wednesday. Peace.